In this video, I'm going to create our first program using Visual Studio. First of all, we have to open Visual Studio. I have Visual Studio 2021 version, and I'm going to create a new project. And here, when you have this window, you can select whatever the project that you are planning to create. Here, I'm going to use C# for Windows, and then I'm going to create a desktop application, and here I have a Windows Form app, right? So we can create a Windows Form app. Here we have a project template for creating a .NET Windows Form app, and here we have a project for creating an application with a Windows Form, right? So here out of these two, I'm going to select the second option, and then I'm going to click next. Here I can give a name for my project. Whatever the name you wish to use can be mentioned here. I'm going to use Hello World, and location I'm going to keep the location as it is. So source name is Hello World now, and I'm going to create the file. Now the project is being creating. Now I have a Visual Studio IDE here, and once it is opened, you can clearly see a Windows form here, and we have Windows Explorer here and properties here. If you don't see this Windows Explorer or properties, you can click on View, and there you have all those options, right? Properties window is there, and Solution Explorer is also there. If you cannot see this Solution Explorer or properties window, you can simply select View and select those options. When we look at this Solution Explorer, we have a number of files here belongs to our project, and all those files are the files that we use to create whatever the project that we are planning to develop. And here we have a properties window. There we have number of properties related to our form. I have properties here. Here the text appear as form. If I want to change the text, I can change it. I'm going to give hello world. Now you see that the text appear here is hello world. Okay. So likewise, you can modify your interface using the properties given in this properties window. And now to design our first form, I'm going to use this toolbox, and if you don't see this toolbox here, you can select View, and then here you have the toolbox option. Now from this toolbox, I can select number of available options. Since this is our first application, I'm just going to use a button. I can click on the button and I can drag and drop it here. I can modify this button as I wish. For an example, here again, when I click on this button, the properties of the button appears here. If I want to change the name, I can change the name as well. Let's say Quick Me. Now it changes into Click Me. Now we have the design with us. We have our form and we have a button here, but the tasks that we are going to do should be properly included into our project. To do that, we will have to select the code of this project. So we are going to look into whatever the code files available for us. When you check this Solution Explorer, as I have already mentioned, we have number of files. For an example, here we have form1.cs, and under that we have form1.designer.cs, and here we have form1.resx, and here again we have C# program.cs file. From the Solution Explorer, we can click on this form1.cs. Once we right click on it, we see Weave Code option and Weave Designer option. When you click on Weave Design option, it will open up design window, and when we right click on form1.cs and click Weave Code, the code file will be loaded here. When you look at this code file, there you clearly see class form1, and we have a function here form1, and again we have another function form1.load. We are not going to learn about all these things in this session, but in another session we will be discussing all these functionalities. For now, remember that we have a class here that will contain whatever the necessary components related to our form, and this is a partial class. That is the other important fact that you will have to remember. This is a partial class. When you check this Solution Explorer again, here you have another .cs file which is named as form1.designer.cs, and when you check the code in it, you can clearly see that we have a certain set of components that we have already added into our form. For an example, here you see private system.window.forms.button button 1. So that is the button that we have already used in our form. For an example, if I go back to this design wave, when I click on this button and when I check the properties window, here you see the name of this button is button 1. Right? So that appears there in our form1.designer.cs file. And here again we have a partial class. This form1.designer.cs contains a partial class, and again this form1.cs contains a partial class as well. That means to create this form, we have used both of these classes. Therefore, whenever you want to add functionality to your form, then we will be adding functionality to this form1.cs, that is this one. And whenever we want to modify the appearance of our design of our form, then we are going to modify this form1.designer.cs. I will explain this code a little bit. When I expand those, you can clearly see there are more instructions related to the creation of our button. For an example, here you can see the location of the button, and when you go back to your form and change its location, what will happen is it will change the values that are mentioned in this file. Now let's add functionality to this form. To add functionality, you can write necessary code within this form1.cs, or else you can simply double click on the button itself, and then the click functionality will be added into your code file. Now we can include the functionality that we would like to include into our project. let's say message box dot show, and here I'm going to give the text hello world, and at the end I have to use semicolon to represent the end of this statement. Now we have finished adding functionality to our project. Now I'm going to run this program. Here, by selecting this start option, we can run the program and it will show output here, and it should open up a message box and display the hello world message. Now when I click on click me, it will open up this message box and it contains our message hello world.